What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Must own hidden breakouts. These are the players that maybe aren't being talked about all that much this season and are definite buys at their current ADP. These are players that have a path to breaking out this season if things go their way, but aren't going to cost you that much in your draft. So let's start things off like we always do with the stat of the day. Today's stat: last season, which team had the worst pass coverage grade? Not a player in this one, an entire team. So which team had the worst pass coverage game in the regular season? All right, let's talk about some hidden breakouts. And we're going to start things off with Reda. It's kind of crazy to think that you can get a player that finished in the top 5 in yards per carry last season on an ascending offense extremely late in the draft. Last season, Reda averaged 5.3 yards per carry, ranking ahead of Melvin Gordon and Marlon Mack in yards per carry after contact per attempt. He also came in with PFF's top receiving grade among all running backs with at least 30 targets. He did all of this while battling through an ankle sprain for most of the season. Now there are reports that he's been used all over the formation in camp, and this is an offense that's going to score more touchdowns, which is great because that's actually an area where Reda was unlucky last season. Given the volume that he received, he was very unlucky in his total touchdown production. So if we assume that that should regress positively and they're going to score more touchdowns overall, I don't see how you're not excited about this kid late in drafts. It doesn't really matter that Coleman is currently viewed as the team's top back. There are not 50 running backs that should be going off the board ahead of Reda. He's currently my running back 42, and I've been trying to find ways to move him up in those rankings, but that's still 2 rounds ahead of where he's currently going in ADP. This entire offense is a buy in my eyes, and it starts with Reda. The second running back we're going to talk about today is Miles Sanders. He's currently coming off the board, depending on your league, and around that late 7th to early 8th round range. And that's exceptional value for the most talented running back on the Eagles roster. I've been loving these reports out of Philly that suggest that Jordan Howard might be the team's lead back because it's keeping Miles Sanders at a discount. But believe me when I tell you, Miles Sanders is the best running back on that roster, and it's not really that close. Not only is he a better pure running back than Jordan Howard, Jordan Howard is a better running back than the rest of their roster, but he's also a much better pass catching back. He's much better in the receiving game. But let's assume that Jordan Howard does win the starting role off the bat. We see week 1, Jordan Howard is the team's first and second down back. Well, Sanders is still going to get some early down work, and he will be used in some goal line packages, and he should be in on third downs on the majority of time. He should be their third down back. So in this scenario, his 7th round ADP is still a discount. But now let's imagine he wins the starting job, which doesn't need to happen in week 1. Remember, this is a very long season. This is a long-term game, and you want your team to peak at the end of the season. Maybe it takes him until week 5 fully take over as the lead back, but he's going to at some point in the season. And when that happens, he will be the lead back on one of the best offenses in football, running behind one of the best, if not the best, offensive line. That's not upside that very many running backs have, especially in that range of the draft. I know that Philly likes to use a committee, but A, he can still return value, like I said, in a committee. There's going to be touchdowns. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to get early down work, so he can still return flex value, and he's going later than flex options usually go. But also look at it this way. Look at who they've been working with. I mean, 3 years ago, they had Ryan Matthews, Sproles, and Wendell Smallwood. 2 years ago, they had Blunt, Clement, and Ajayi. It was the corpse of Ajayi. Then last year, they had Josh Adams, Wendell Smallwood, and Corey Clement. They haven't had a running back in recent years that's been as talented as Miles Sanders. But not even that. They haven't even had a running back that's capable of a 3-down role that makes defenses scared. I mean, sure, they have running backs who could be used in a 3-down role, but not ones that make defenses scared. Not great running backs. They haven't had one. Now they do. And so the upside is scary. Sanders is currently my running back 26. That's 8 spots above ECR and 10 spots above ADP. If you want to see my rankings on all players, along with my projections and my player notes, then check them out on our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But that's it for the running backs. Let's talk about some wide receivers. And a name that I haven't mentioned in a long time is Michael Gallup. Now, you guys know how crushed I was when the Patriots didn't draft him last season. He's clearly a very talented wide receiver, and he's going to have a good career in the NFL. People are overlooking him because Amari Cooper's there. And it's kind of easy to do that, right? We know that Zeke, assuming he doesn't hold out for the whole year, Zeke is going to get a lot of carries. He's going to be used in the receiving game, and then they're going to feed Amari Cooper, and you're like, well, what's left? Well, Gallup averaged 3 targets per game before they traded for Amari Cooper, then 5.5 targets per game after they traded for him. In fact, he was at 6.1 targets per game if you remove that 0 against the Colts. Just a terrible game on everyone's part. There's been nothing but positive news about him this offseason, and he's clearly the second option in their wide receiver core. The team doesn't really have a lot of depth behind him at wide receiver, and I can't imagine the combination of Witten and Jarwin are going to command that large of a target share. So there really are plenty of targets to go around for Gallup, and the sky is the limit if Cooper were to go down. This is a pick that at worst is going to return value for you, but it has crazy upside if he develops like I think he will. All right, I've given you guys some names going in the mid to late portions of the draft, but I'm going to use this fourth player to talk about a true value breakout. This is a guy that will be available at the end of every draft and is likely to open the season as the team's top wide receiver. And his name is Miles Boykin. Boykin is 6'4", 220 pounds, boasts a 98th percentile height-adjusted speed score, a 99th percentile burst score, 90th percentile agility score, 94th percentile SparkX score, and a 100th percentile catch radius. He was the Ravens' third-round pick this season, and they cannot stop talking about how much they love him. And it's not only them, it's beat reporters, it's teammates. Literally everyone who has seen this offense in any capacity has said Miles Boykin is awesome. I know you guys are scared to draft wide receivers on this offense, and I get it. As soon as Jackson took over last season, the wide receiver production fell off a cliff. But last season was a unique case. They structured their offense around Joe Flacco. So when Jackson took over, it's not that surprising that the passing numbers weren't there. But I expect them to be smart about how they use play action this season, and I expect them to surprise people with how successful they are when passing the football. I want upside when I'm drafting this late because I don't care if the pick busts. I really don't, because early in the season are the best waiver wire ads anyways. So why draft a player who's going to start the season 4 for 40, 4 for 50, 5 for 30? Like, you don't want to draft a player with capped upside. I want a player who's extremely talented and has a chance to be a fantasy starter if their team performs like you think they will. And that's exactly what Boykin could be. I believe that he will be their every down starter in week 1. And he's much more talented than the receivers they had last season. So when you add in more designed play calling around Lamar Jackson, the development on Lamar Jackson's part, you can see the path to Boykin having a breakout season, and he's currently coming off the board as the wide receiver 125. You cannot, with a straight face, tell me that Miles Boykin deserves to be ranked and coming off the board as the wide receiver 125. That makes no sense. The last player we're going to talk about today is someone that I haven't mentioned recently at all, and I'm not sure the last time I actually talked about him in a video, because I thought he was a super obvious pick and that his ADP was just low because it was the offseason and it was going to rise as we got into August. But we're here. We're in August and his ADP is not going up. Dallas Goedert is still coming off the board as the tight end 19. We've finally seen Mark Andrews' ADP rise, but Goddard's hasn't, and that just makes no sense. I mean, assuming Zach Ertz plays a healthy 16 weeks, Goedert will still be usable. They're going to run a boatload of 12 personnel packages, which means that he's going to be on the field with Ertz a ton. Last season, he had a 75-yard touchdown called back when his defender fell down and the officials incorrectly called it an offensive pass interference. Had that play stood, so had the official just called the correct call and done nothing really, so not done a call, then he would have finished a point per game shy of being a tight end 1. And that's as a rookie in a season where Zach Ertz caught 116 balls and played every single game. Again, even if Ertz is fully healthy for every single game, then Goddard is going to outperform his ADP. And if something were to happen to Zach Ertz, then he wins leagues. You cannot say that about many players going late, and you cannot say that about a single tight end being drafted outside the top 10, that they have league-winning upside. In any scenario, you cannot say that about any tight end going outside the top 10 that they have league-winning upside except Dallas Goedert. You always want to target undervalued options on elite offenses, especially when they're extremely talented. That's why this list has 2 Eagles on it. They're going to be an amazing offense this season, and yet their prices are all cheap. Heck, even Deshaun Jackson is a value in drafts where he's going. But anyways, I didn't want to include Goddard in a lot of videos because I genuinely believe this is a very obvious late round pick, but his ADP isn't going anywhere, which is insane. So I had to include him in a top 5. So those are the top 5 must-own hidden breakouts. All of these players are listed as targets or sleepers in my rankings, which, again, you can find at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But that's the end of this one. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button? If you're new here, how about subscribing to the channel? But thanks for watching.